and CMC.
Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome back to week 17 of the NFL season. For a lot of us, this is our championship week in our fantasy leagues. Brant, I know you're in a few this weekend, probably geared up a little bit. I know you said that prior to the show kicking off that you were feeling a little laggy, a little tired, that you might crawl back into bed at noon. I advise you get yourself amped up for them championship games. But hey, you do you. But nonetheless, Happy New Year to everybody. And you included there, Brant. Another year of having to be your friend is a punishment in its own right, but we'll save that for another time.
I just feel like that's your New Year's resolution every year, is try not to disown the other fat boy. But yeah, as Happy New Year, everybody. Yeah, I'm a little laggy. It was a long night last night, obviously, with New Year's Eve. But yeah, I'm getting there. I'm starting to get myself pumped up. Got 2 championships in today, and then I got a 3rd place game. So 3 out of my 4 leagues, I'm in contention for some winnings. So yeah, I'm getting amped up and ready to go.
Absolutely, can't ask for much more than that on a week 17 a slate, is to be playing for some money, huh?
Oh yeah.
All right. So Brant, what's the first game that you're really looking forward to watching today?
My first one, honestly, is Jacksonville and Houston. Houston still hasn't decided that they actually want the first overall pick, so they're playing like they actually want to win some games, and I'm not sure. And I know Jacksonville really doesn't control their playoff destiny. And that's next week, but it's Jacksonville. Going in, I'd like to see if they actually go out and they keep their players rolling. They're on a 3-game win streak, I think, 2 or 3 game win streak. Yeah. I really believe they want to keep that going into next week against the Titans, who are on a 6-game losing streak. So I'm actually excited to see that game. And I know that's 2 of the grossest teams to say you're ready to watch, but that's my noon game that I want to be paying close attention to.
Jacksonville really hasn't been that gross this year. I mean, they've had the emergence of ETN, which has been good at times. T-Law's kind of taken a step forward this year. Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram. There's been some very good fantasy numbers come out of that team. It's definitely not as bad as a lot of people probably thought it was going to be coming into the year. So definitely, there's some definite stuff there too. I'm actually looking forward to seeing the Chicago and Detroit game.
Fun.
You got Detroit absolutely on fire right now. You've got Chicago with Justin Fields, who have just been electric to watch when he's playing well. So I think that's going to be a really good game to watch and an absolute barn burner, if you will, points wise.
Oh yeah, I believe it's the highest point on the slate this week.
This year would be correct as well, Brant. Okay. But nonetheless, all right, we've got our first question in from Tony. Tony says he does follow it up and say Happy New Year. So Happy New Year to you as well, Tony. He asked Dallas Goedert or Cole Kmet in PPR formats. So you've got Kmet against the Detroit Lions and Dallas Goedert against the New Orleans Saints.
So as much as you and me actually talked about this, because I have Goddard starting one of my championships. I actually lean Goddard here. Minshew did look for him quite often last week at Dallas. I expect them to have to work some points in this week as well. So I actually am still going to lean Goddard. He was a top 5 tight end prior to his injury, and I believe he stayed in the top 10 while he was injured too. Came out, had a decent week last week. And so I think I have to lean Goddard, and I just think it works out better. As much as Kmet's matchup is better, I think I can't sit my stud in a championship.
The one question I have to that for you, Brant, is what did we say pre-show that the New Orleans Saints were number 3 against the tight end? Is that
yes.
Right. And Cole Kmet's got a favorable matchup against Detroit, and just since week 9. He's had 6 targets, 7 targets, 4 targets, 6 targets, 7 targets, 5 targets, 6 targets. So he has absolutely been Justin Fields' favorite target, I would say, in that span. And he's had games of tight end 2, tight end 1, 17, 24, 6, 23, 18. So Cole Kmet's playing pretty darn good football right now. Actually, about where you and I thought he would be at the beginning of the season. It took quite a while to get there, but I actually think I'd go Cole Kmet in this. The Bears have a high draft pick as well, but Justin Fields is out there absolutely showing what he's got, and in order for him to do that, it's got to go through Cole Kmet. I like the matchup, and I like the volume that he's been getting to this point.
Yeah, I don't think you're actually wrong. Apparently, I have not been too much looking at Kmet. I've been pretty decent. I've been pretty lucky with my tight ends this year. So Cole Kmet might not be a bad start either on that one there. So you got a good chance there. I honestly, with the favorable matchups, I think maybe I do start to lean a little more Kmet now that you're showing his target share. So yeah, Tony, I think Kmet might be a good one for you. Actually, I think I'll have to fade Goddard. I didn't realize that Kmet had been his favorite pass or his favorite target. And Claypool is still questionable, although he is leaning towards playing, but that could put him on a snapped count. So yeah, Kmet might be the best start out of those two now that I'm going back. And as you were sitting there reading it, I'm reading all this stuff and I'm like, oh, okay. I think I spoke a little too early. Maybe I need to wake up a little bit quicker.
yeah, I think it's Cole Kmet. I don't think you necessarily go wrong either way, but I think Cole Kmet's probably the higher ceiling for sure. I think they're probably about the same floor this week, but I think it's higher ceiling wise. You have to go Cole Kmet.
Yeah.
Brant, I think part of the reason I was on that question a little bit ahead of you is because I had been looking at that game as one of the games I wanted to watch, and Cole Kmet was a part of the reason.
Yeah.
So, but yes, Cole Kmet has been pretty fantastic lately. I think the biggest issue is he just hasn't found the end zone in that span. So,
yeah,
I think that's probably why you haven't seen his name a whole heck of a lot. But so, how about that 3:00 slate? I know you're going to be tuned into your Seattle at the New York Jets. How are you feeling about that one?
It's going to be a fun one to watch. Unfortunately, I think the Jets are going to put up a heck of a fight with Mike White coming back. I hope our defense can slow down Zonovan Knight, which I don't honestly believe we can, but I hope we could find a way to. Last night I was watching that Georgia game and got a little more excited that Seattle may have a shot at Carter there at the start of the draft. So it got me a little more excited to actually have a run stuffer coming in. But yeah, I'll be tuned in, but on that back burner, I'm going to have that Minnesota Green Bay game on because they're playoff. Green Bay loses, they're out. I know everyone makes the joke of the NFL script. So does the script say that Green Bay is sneaking in? I guess we'll really find out today at what Green Bay's got playing against Minnesota. I know it's going to be a little cold up there in Green Bay, but that game will also be on my secondary TV as my Seahawks are on my main one.
There you go. All right. Looks like we got some questions pouring back in here. So Brian says, Happy New Year, fellas. Brian, Happy New Year to you as well.
Happy New Year.
He says 15-man PPR in the finals, need to fill holes. He's got one running back, 2 wide receivers, and 1 flex. His options are Austin Eckler, Joshua Kelly, Rashad White, Mike Williams, Chris Godwin, DJ Moore. Pick the best. So obviously we're not taking Eckler out of the lineup. We're putting him in that or the running back slot, setting it in stone, acting like he doesn't exist because he's not coming out, especially championship week. So then you really get into the rest of it. I think for now I'm going to skip over Joshua Kelly. So Rashad White and the Tampa Bay Bucks have a divisional matchup against the Carolina Panthers. Mike Williams is home in SoFi against the LA Rams. Chris Godwin and DJ Moore again are in that Tampa Bay Carolina game. So, Brant, is there for the 2 wide receivers? Do you have different opinion on that? Because I think I have to go Mike Williams and Chris Godwin.
No, I'm going Williams and Godwin. I expect Tampa Bay to try to continue to slow down DJ Moore. I know he's been a little bit better with Sam Darnold, but I expect them to try to lean on that run and a little bit more. I know that Tampa Bay does have a very good run defense, but DJ Moore is going to be the number 1 receiver to stop. So yeah, I have to go Mike Williams and Chris Godwin. Eckler's my running back. As for my flex, I honestly think I go Rashad White. Yeah, I think I have to go White on that one for my flex. I just think that, he's going to get some carries. He'll be involved a little bit in the pass game too. So that PPR upside. And Carolina has a pretty good secondary. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with White as my flex.
Yeah, Brant, I'm right there with you. The only thing that does make me, pretty nervous is that DJ Moore scored touchdowns the last 2 weeks. Last 2 weeks, wide receiver 16, wide receiver 11 in PPR formats. And Tampa Bay is not necessarily as bad of a matchup as it used to be.
Right.
I actually think I'm going to go DJ Moore here.
Okay.
I think Rachaad White's probably safer, even with Leonard Fournette still breathing down the neck there in that backfield. But I think DJ Moore could be in line for a better game. I feel like you're already pretty safe with Godwin and Mike Williams. DJ Moore feels like the higher upside play out of that to me. So, in my flex, I'm putting guys in there that I think are going to go off or have the potential of scoring high points. So I'm going DJ Moore in my flex.
Okay.
But I do like Rachaad White this week as well for what that's worth.
Okay. Good luck to you, Brian. That's a big league to be. That's a big league to be in the finals.
Matter of fact, why don't you, Brian, let us know how that goes after it pans out.
Yes, please do. Please do.
Next question we've got here is from Henry. He says Rachaad White, Romeo Doubs, Jahan Dotson, Cortland Sutton, or Marquise Brown. Pick one in standard scoring.
Oh, standard scoring. Oh man, it normally would be the running back in standard, but he's sharing.
He does say later on a 14-team league he's going for back-to-back here. So
Washington has Dotson's been on a little bit of a tear.
They play Cleveland.
Yeah, at home. Carson Wentz starting. I don't know how I feel about that. Man, I think I honestly have to go Marquise Brown without DeAndre Hopkins. So yeah, I think I actually lean Marquise Brown there. And David Blau start. Never mind. Oh my goodness, that is a tough one.
Listen, David Blau is starting, and it is tough. But this is still my Atlanta Falcons defense we're talking about here, okay? And
yeah, but Brown's going to see Terrell now.
He is going to see Terrell, but Terrell's given up some plays this year. I mean, he's still been pretty good, but he's given up some plays. The backside helps, not the greatest. But David Blau should. I actually, for the first time in a long time, actually think my Falcons should win this game. I didn't pick them to. I think they should.
I did pick them.
I don't think David Blau is going to be the reason that the Cardinals lose if they lose. So don't have that hesitation. For me, I'm going to go with Jahan Dotson here, just because of how good Dotson looked at the beginning of the season with Carson Wentz. If you remember how that played out early, Brant, out of the wide receivers. However, I do think if I'm playing one of these guys, it's going to be Rachaad White for me. I just think that Rachaad White's safe here. And still could find the end zone, similar to what he did last week. He had that touchdown to kind of save his day. Not enough to pick him over DJ Moore, but I do think out of this list I would take Rachaad White, especially in standard. I just think with it being standard format, he has the best chance to find the end zone.
Yeah, I think I'm actually going to go a little off script from what I was talking about. I'm going to go with Sutton. They play Kansas City, so I expect some points to be hung up. Kansas City secondary has been questionable at times. So I expect Cortland Sutton to have a pretty decent game today. So my safest, like I said, it's always the running back's the safest play in standard. So the safest play to me is Rachaad White. Your highest upside in my mind is honestly Sutton going against Kansas City. But I think the safer play would be White.
Okay. Desan says, Happy New Year, Bo and Brant. Happy New Year to you as well. He said he made it to the championship without Cup and now without Hurts. He's got a question at running back 2. Should I start Leonard Fournette, Ramondre Stevenson, or J.K. Dobbins? So you've got Ramondre Stevenson and the New England Patriots at Miami, or hosting Miami at home. Fournette at home against the Carolina Panthers, and J.K. Dobbins where's he at? Sunday Night Football at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I'm not trusting Dobbins. Last week put a sour taste in my mouth where it was one of his better matchups, and he kind of stumbled on that.
Yeah, but the problem is Ramondre Stevenson had 2 or 3 fumbles last week.
And Harris is off the injury report.
And Bill Belichick's the type of guy that, Ramondre Stevenson's been great all year with that 3 or 2 or 3 turnovers, whatever it ended up being last week, maybe enough to get Damian Harris back getting the run. So does Leonard Fournette feel like the safest out of the 3?
Yeah, he actually does on that one. I think I have to go with Fournette. We know he's going to be involved. We do know he shares, but yeah, I think I have to go with Fournette as my safest play.
Yeah, I mean, Fournette feels like the safest play. I won't say that I think he has the greatest matchup out of these guys. I think Stevenson and Dobbins both have decent matchups as well. But Brant, kind of like you alluded to, Gus Edwards looked like the better back in that backfield last week against the Falcons. Whether that was just a game script deal or what, I don't know. But Dobbins definitely didn't look as good as Gus Edwards to me. And then again, Ramondre Stevenson with Bill Belichick, that terrifies me because after a bad performance like that, where you could make the argument pretty handedly that was a big contributing factor into them having a hard time getting back into that game. I could see them going Damian Harris this week. So I would go with Leonard Fournette. I just don't see how you don't.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Fournette as the safest play as well here. Excuse me.
Tyler says Devontae Adams or Christian Watson. I understand the questioning of this just because it's Jarrett Stidham playing instead of Derek Carr. But like Tony does say here in a couple comments later that Christian Watson is a game time decision. Didn't take a single rep at practice all week. They're hoping he can go as a game time decision, but this is a kid that in his rookie year he's been banged up, missed a lot of time for little nagging injuries here, little things there. I'm not sure how quick Green Bay is going to be to rush him, and we're still talking about Devontae Adams on the other side of the ball.
Yep.
On Christian Watson's best day, he's not Devontae Adams. So I think the future is really bright for a guy like Christian Watson. I think he's going to have a great career, going to be super fantasy relevant for seasons to come. But I'm not whether he plays or not, I'm not putting him in over Devontae Adams. I would have to imagine Jarrett Stidham's going to absolutely just feed and pepper him with targets all day long.
Yeah, because it's and with the Adams thing, it's going to be hard for Vegas to get that run game going against San Francisco. So I'm going to go with Adams. I expect him to be peppered and absolutely shown as much love as possible from Stidham and the entire coaching staff and everybody else to try to want to keep him around after they're benching one of his best friends. And so I'm going to have to lean Adams on this one. Watson's probably going to be on the snap count, even if he does play. So I don't, and I mean, Dobbs is back too, taking some of the targets away. So yeah, I think Adams is the best choice on this one.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
All right, Brant, let's talk about this for a minute. Who's your big game performer today and why?
Well, my big game performer is Saquon Barkley. I expect him to have a great game. He's been one of the fantasy playoffs darlings over the last couple of weeks. I know he's had a great season. I expect Barkley to continue that streak this week. And I'm also going against him in two of the leagues, so I expect him to snap off because, well, Lord knows I'm not supposed to be in the championship in one of those leagues. I snuck by with a huge defensive performance. So I expect Barkley to have a great game this week. I think his matchup and the script for that is going to be extremely favorable to him. So I like Barkley.
Okay. Yeah. And another anomaly is as long as Barkley makes it through today, which maybe I'm cursing a lot of people for even saying this, myself included. It'll be the first time in 4 years that Saquon Barkley hasn't missed a game in the fantasy football season. So definitely looking forward to that too. That's great for Saquon Barkley owner, especially in dynasty leagues where you've been holding him for all that time.
Yeah.
My big game guy is another running back from that same division, Brant, and I know we have similar sentiments towards this guy this week, but I've got Brian Robinson as my big gamer this week. They're hosting Cleveland. Cleveland's not been great against the run this year. No Antonio Gibson this week. I just expect a huge game for Brian Robinson this week. I'm talking touchdowns, receptions, all the whole 9 yards, RB1 status this week for B-Rob for my money.
Yeah, I expect him to find the end zone. That's actually my touchdown guy this week is B-Rob. I expect him to lean on him pretty heavily. So, yeah, I absolutely love Brian Robinson this week.
All right. Tyler says Tyler Algier or Ramondre Stevenson. This is another one that I'm fairly comfortable with my choice on. Prior to last week, it may have been a little bit of a different story, but the multiple fumbles for Ramondre last week. Tyler Algiers looked 100% like a future RB1 in fantasy football behind the Atlanta Falcons offensive line, who has been just a absolute breath of fresh air as a Falcons fan this year. Having a run game is pretty much an anomaly here for us. But Tyler Algiers looked great. I expect that to continue this week. Just again, mainly because after the turnovers, it scares me that Bill Belichick will get cute and put Damian Harris or even Pierre Strong or somebody like that in the backfield and let them get a bunch of touches this week. Whereas in Atlanta, it's going to be the Tyler Algier show, especially again out of Atlanta being out of any kind of playoff contention in that atrocious NFC South. I still think you're in the evaluation process for the Falcons. They're going to be letting these young guys go out and do what they do and just see what they have for the next year. So I absolutely go Algier here.
Yeah, I'm taking Algier as well. I think it's going to be a good game script for him against the Arizona Cardinals. So yeah, I like Algier over Stevenson, like you alluded to. You're not sure what Belichick's going to do. He gets Harris back. Stevenson had a rough fumble game last week, and Algier has looked amazing. So anyone that's held on to him all year, Dynasty leagues, you're getting your chance now, and he's getting his chance, and I absolutely love what he's been doing with it.
Absolutely. Paul says, I know this has been a bombarded question. I need 2 wide receivers, Devontae Adams, Christian Kirk, Jerry Jeudy, or Cortland Sutton in case Jeudy doesn't play. So Brant, let's start with the first 2. It says, is there one that sticks out to you like it does me? Championship week. He says he's got the belt on the line. You can't get cute and take Devontae Adams out in a championship, right? We're both in agreement on that one.
Yeah, you have to start him. I know it's gross to start him with Stidham at QB, but you can't take Adams out, and that's you drafted him in the first 3 rounds. So yeah, he's a guy that I'm going to ride or die with. I can't take him out, so he's a guaranteed start for me. Let's see, Kirk has Houston. Oh. Gosh, that's a good matchup. Where are you at with the second one?
Yeah, for me, so the rule of thumb here with Houston, especially basically since midway of the season, is they don't give up a ton of fantasy points to quarterbacks because they don't give up a whole lot of receiving work, touchdowns and stuff. And a lot of times the game script kind of has the passing game out. But they've kind of flipped that on its head the last couple of weeks, keeping it close with Kansas City, Dallas. I don't necessarily want to say you have to take Christian Kirk out because of that, but it certainly makes the other 2 names more appealing. I absolutely love Cortland Sutton if Jerry Jeudy doesn't play. I correct me if I'm wrong, Brant, but I'm pretty sure Greg Dulcich is out already this week as well. Did I read that? So that makes Sutton all the more appealing to me, especially if Jeudy doesn't play. I think I go Cortland Sutton myself.
Yeah, I think I actually lean Cortland Sutton on this. They play the Chiefs. They're going to be playing from behind, in my own opinion. Especially with how great Russell has looked. I actually lean Sutton on this one. If Jeudy wasn't questionable, that would be my start. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Sutton on this one.
Well, Brant, it's also worth noting, and I'm going back to double check myself before I put my foot in my mouth. But where's it at here? Yeah, Russ's 2 best games of the year, his best finishes in fantasy stats. He's had two weeks as quarterback 3. Once was week 4 against the Vegas Raiders, and once was just not that long ago, week 14 against the Kansas City Chiefs, where he threw 3 touchdown passes in that game. So, Kansas City is not a defense that scares me away from starting wide receivers. So I actually do think I have a fair amount of confidence that Denver puts some points on the board. I think their wide receivers are pretty safe plays this week.
Yep. Jeudy actually caught all 3 of those touchdowns against Kansas City. I just happened to have that one pulled up without Sutton, though. So,
yep. Jennifer says pick 2 wide receivers: Watson, Judy, Terry McLaurin, and then we'll get into the flex after that. So, Brant, my feeling on this one is I'm going to just go ahead and sit Watson, just without the fact that he hasn't played all week or hadn't practiced all week. Game time decision. Granted, it's a 3:00 slate, so if you go to play him, you're kind of forced to, whether he does or not, because Denver plays the noon slate, and so does Washington this week. So I think just because I don't know about Christian Watson, I'm going Judy as long as he plays, and Terry McLaurin.
Yep, I'm going to take Judy and Terry as well. I want to make sure I got that pivot to Watson in case Judy doesn't play, but I think Judy and Terry are the best plays out of those three.
Absolutely. And then it says pick 1 for flex: Tyler Algier, Leonard Fournette, or Kenneth Walker.
Oh, man, as much as I love Kenneth this week, I think I still have to go with Algier. He should see the majority of your touches. He'll see some pass game work. I like Algier this week. We just talked about it. Atlanta's letting us see what their young players have, and I think this is one guy that they're really paying attention to, so I like him to start this week.
Yeah, especially with how loaded the 2023 draft class is and running backs. I think it's definitely something, if you're a team that hasn't had a great running back in years, you're going to be looking into whether or not you need to go address that. So again, I think they're going to give Algier every opportunity to continue to do what he's done and make sure that they don't have to waste a pick on a running back in this draft. And I think he's going to get in line for another big game this week. So I too go Tyler Algier here. But I could totally understand wanting to start Kenneth Walker. He's been electric. He also has plenty of work in the pass catching game. But I believe Tyler Lockett's back, so that may hinder some of the pass work for Kenneth Walker this week as well. But I do go Tyler Algier too. Joe says pick 1: Alvin Kamara, Kenneth Walker, Juju, or Watson for the flex and PPR.
Oh my.
Is Kamara playing, first of all? I know there was some personal issues going on, and I know Dennis Allen said in a press conference earlier in the week that he was going to let Alvin Kamara come out and tell the fans himself what was going on. It does sound like he is expected to play. He missed the first 2 practices of the week before returning on Friday as a full participant. So he did practice this week. Okay.
I think I have to start Kamara. They're going against Philly. I know Philly doesn't have Hurts. Minshew still looked very good last week, and they had no problem hanging up points. I expect Kamara to be involved heavily in the pass game with the amazing secondary that Philly does have. So I think I have to go with Kamara. I think that he's going to be the most wide open guy on that field. So I like Kamara this week in a PPR format.
Yeah, Kamara actually is coming off of his second best fantasy performance of the season as RB8 in PPR formats last week. He's projected to be a top 6 running back this week. Philly's a favorable matchup against the run game. I didn't necessarily know that. That would have been one that would have intimidated me until I saw that. But yeah, I think if Alvin Kamara, is going to play, you have to play him probably. I mean, I know he hasn't been great this year, but coming off a running back 8 performance, it'd be hard to sit him in a championship matchup. So,
yep.
And again, with the rest of these guys, Watson scares the crap out of me just because I don't know if he's going to play. Juju should be fine. Kenneth Walker should be fine. But if I'm looking for somebody to take the top off, it's got to be Kamara.
Absolutely.
All right, Brent, let's go through some of these prop bets here. Last week I know was a down week for me on prop bets, so I'm looking to get back in the win column here on that one. So why don't you take me through your first one?
My first one is James Conner over 16.5 rush attempts. I expect them without Hopkins with your 4-string QB. I expect them to lean on Conner. He's been a workhorse back. There's really nobody else there backing him up. So I expect him to lean on Conner and let him go. You honestly could see him go over 16.5 rush attempts in the first half. I know Atlanta has not been hanging up many points lately with Ritter starting. So I absolutely love this game to stay close and Conner to be involved the entire game. So 16.5 rush attempts I really like.
Yeah, I absolutely love James Conner with 16 and a half to go over 16 and a half rushing attempts as well. Another guy that I think goes over his rushing attempts is Brian Robinson. He's over 17 and a half, so one more attempt than James Conner. No Antonio Gibson this week for the Washington Commanders. I know you and I both have him as a big time performer and a touchdown scorer, so that he should have himself a pretty big workload today. So I'm definitely taking the over as well. Carson Wentz back under center. We'll see how that looks. The only thing I'm really trusting in Washington today with Carson Wentz is Brian Robinson.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Alex asked, need one. Cooks versus Jags, Myers versus Dolphins, Hodgins versus Colts. Could go Dobbins if Watson's ruled out early enough. I actually like Jacoby Myers this week. I think he gets peppered in with targets. Cook scares me with his personal issues with Houston. How much will he actually be on the field? I like Myers this week. He's the number one guy there. Dolphins have been questionable in the secondary at times, so I actually like Jacoby Myers this week.
I actually think I'm going to go with Brandon Cooks this week. I know I've faded him a lot this season myself, Brant, and I know you have too. But Nico Collins did get put on the IR last week. And Brandon Cooks is kind of the guy last week. Granted it wasn't great. Wide receiver 29 for performance, so a top three or a wide receiver 3 performance, but he did have 9 targets. Is the big thing for me. He had 9 targets, only 4 receptions, but he did have a touchdown, which was a saving grace. But if I'm getting a wide receiver that I think is going to get 7+ targets, which I expect him to this week. Again, I think I have to play that. The upside's there for me. Again, this is a week where you want the volume, because the more volume you have, the better opportunity you have for that fantasy production. So I definitely think I go Brandon Cooks here versus the Jaguars over the rest of these guys.
Okay.
Joe says, I need one wide receiver to play with Chase, Juju, Jahan Dotson, or does he hold out for Christian Watson?
I think you go Juju here. Safe to play against Denver. I know Denver's pretty decent in the secondary, but we saw last week that they definitely could be picked apart when turnovers are happening, and I expect turnovers to be happening. So yeah, I actually like Juju this week. I expect them to try to pounce all over Denver early and really force Russell to throw. So yeah, I like Juju.
Yeah. Excuse me. Christian wanting to hold out hope for Christian Watson, I totally get. Christian Watson's been electric when he's been on the field. He's been very fun. The touchdown upside is amazing with Christian Watson. But it does scare me that he hasn't practiced all week and how much time he's missed this year already for little minor injuries here and there. So I am pretty nervous about Christian Watson. And the problem is that these other 2 wide receivers that you could play in his place both play at noon. So unfortunately, I think you're going to have to go with Juju. Not unfortunately, I actually like Juju again this week, like I said, but yeah, I don't think you're going to have the luxury of holding out for Watson because if he doesn't, you'd have to have some kind of a pivot play in place. And with Juju and Jahan Dotson both healthy, I just feel like I have to play one of them, and it's going to be Juju for me. He's definitely been a breath of fresh air for that Kansas City wide receiving core this season. I know McCole Hardman was getting close. They thought he was going to come, and then he had suffered a setback this week. So I think it's still going to be another big week for Juju.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Amy said she needs 2, but she didn't leave out the rest of it. So Amy, if you get that comment finished, we'll definitely take a gander at that.
Yeah.
Brant, let's get through some more of these prop bets while Amy finishes her comment there.
One of my other noon prop bets is I'm going to go Drake. I'm going to stick with that game. I'm going to go Drake London over 57.5 receiving yards. I expect him to be your number one guy. I expect him to see plenty of targets. I expect a good game from him with the against the Arizona Cardinals. So yeah, I like London to go over 57.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, I absolutely have loved every bit of Drake London that I've seen with Desmond Ridder. Obviously, I've been watching those games even probably more more intention than I had with Mariota, just because of how excited I am to see Ritter in London in the long-term future together. The last 3 weeks, London's had 12 targets, 11 targets, and 9 targets. And in those weeks, 95 yards, 70 yards, and 96 yards. I absolutely smashed him over the 57.5 myself. That seems way too low for a guy who's been putting up the numbers he has lately. And he is by far Ritter's favorite target. Ritter is looking his way every play, it seems, and as he should probably. So I love that one as well. Another one that I have in the noon slate is Justin Fields over 260.5 total yards. So rushing and passing there in that game at Detroit. It's indoors. So I absolutely look for Justin Fields to be electric in this game. And a lot of that's going to have to do with Aiden Hutchinson getting into that backfield and causing chaos, because that's going to make Justin Fields have to take off running. I expect him to go over this 260 pretty easy.
Okay.
All right, Amos says pick one: Brandon Ayuk, Deontay Johnson, and wide receiver. All right, so who do you favor there at the wide receiver position? You've got Ayuk against the Vegas Raiders, and the Steelers Sunday Night Football against the Baltimore Ravens.
I'm going to go with Ayuk without Debo. I expect Ayuk to be the primary pass catcher. Well, Kittle will be, but I expect Ayuk to have another good game like he did last week. So I'm going to go with Brandon Ayuk over Deontay Johnson for those.
Yeah, this one's tough for me because my gut tells me I want to go with Deontay Johnson, but Brandon Ayuk has been so electric since Brock Purdy's played. Really, he's been electric all year. He's had so many touchdown finds. He's almost his goal line routes are almost Adam Thielen-esque of years past, if you will. So I actually think I have to go Ayuk as well, which again is hard for me because I want to go Deontay Johnson, but I feel like I have to go Ayuk. Says pick two for out of these next names: Swift, Dillon, Walker, Jamal Williams, and Watson if he plays, or Garrett Wilson.
I'm taking Watson out. I don't trust him to play. Let's see, we're picking two. I got to go. You almost have to go Garrett Wilson against the Seattle secondary. I know he'll see I know he'll see Woolen. But yeah, I think I like Garrett Wilson with Mike White back. So Wilson's my first one to play. Man, that one's tough there. Watson and Wilson were separate. I'm going to go Wilson over Watson then. All right, so now we need two running backs. Swift, Dillon, Walker. I'm going to go with Walker. I like his upside more than the rest of them there. Oh, my goodness. What's your thought on that second one there?
So Swift and Jamal Williams are starting to be closer for me than they have been all season. And oddly enough, Jamal Williams in full PPR right now, scoring is running back 18 and Swift is 26, which is kind of mind-boggling with how much time Swift has missed. So I think I'm on the same boat you are, Brant. I think Kenneth Walker's the first obvious one for me. And then I think I go with Swift. I know AJ Dillon's been amazing since I think it was week 12. He's really started to turn it on, started to be involved a lot. I know he's been involved so much that at times people are going, "Where's Aaron Jones? Why is he not on the field?" I think I go Swift and Walker just because I think the upside's there. If this was a standard league, I think it would be Dillon and Walker for me, or potentially Jamal Williams and Walker. But I think in PPR, I go Swift and Walker.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Swift saw 56% of the snaps last week, so he's taken over the majority of the backfield. So, yeah, I think I have to go Swift and Walker here. Dillon and Jones, I don't know what's going on with that backfield. One week it's all Aaron Jones. The next week it seems Jones gets banged up, and then it's all Dillon, and then it's back to Jones. So I think I have to go with Swift and Walker as my two safest plays.
Yeah, and that second or that last part of this question, it's Garrett Wilson for me. Even if Watson had practiced a little bit this week, I just like the matchup there against your Seattle Seahawks. Two rookie on rookies here, Garrett Wilson and Woolen. Top guys at their positions, and even though they're rookies, I think they're both Pro Bowlers if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely a good matchup there. But I think with Watson's injury that going into this week game time decision, I'm taking Garrett Wilson even if Watson plays this week. Josh says he needs one in PPR: Gabe Davis, DJ Chark, or Richie James. So for me, Brant, first of all, I'm going to take DJ Chark out of this one. Dan Campbell's coming out saying they've got to get Jamison Williams more involved. We know Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to get his. So I'm fading DJ Chark a little bit at this point. So then it comes down to Gabe Davis or Richie James. For me, it feels like it should be fairly obvious to say Gabe Davis. But Richie James has been pretty decent as well, in that heavily banged up New York Giants pass catching pool there. But I still think because of the fact that I think the best game of the week as far as to watch is going to be that Buffalo and Cincinnati game. I just think I have to go Gabe Davis here.
Yeah, I'm going to go Gabe Davis. I expect that to be a air out game. I don't expect a whole lot from the running backs. I know they both would like to keep it out of the other quarterback's hands, but I have to go with Gabe Davis. I expect him to have a really good game this week against Cincinnati's secondary. Both Cincinnati and who do the Giants play? I just looked at it. Indianapolis. Both of them are right there mid-tier against the wide receiver. So I actually like Gabe Davis this week.
All right, Brant, let's get through the rest of these prop bets here. Where are you at on your third one?
My third one, I'm picking on Seattle again. Zonovan Knight over 58.5 rushing yards. He could easily go over that in 2 carries with how amazing our rush defense has been this year. So yeah, I like Zonovan Knight to go over his 58.5 rushing yards.
Yeah, Zonovan Knight is one that I'm I may regret saying this, but I'm not jumping on the hype train just as quick as everybody else did. And again, it bit me in the butt with the Dameon Pierce one, but I still think Michael Carter is going to be involved, especially this week against Seattle, because Seattle does seem to struggle with pass catching running backs as well. So I do think you'll see a little bit more Michael Carter, but I do think 58.5 yards is low enough that that's an easy smash for me as well. Not saying I'm saying I think there's a chance Michael Carter outscores Zonovan Knight this week, but the 58.5 yards is low enough that should be an easy play. Another one that I found that I thought was way too low is Sam Darnold over 208.5 total yards against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is a favorable matchup for wide receivers at this point. That was a thing that you didn't see much last year out of that defense. Their offense is kind of in shambles as well. So I know that's going to allow Deontay Foreman and Chuba Hubbard to be utilized a lot in this game as well. But Sam Darnold's looked good since he's been back under center there, which has been a big part of DJ Moore's kind of late season surgeons here. So I do think I like Sam Darnold over 208.5 total yards this week.
Okay. My last one I've got that I've already smashed is I expect Baker Mayfield to throw an interception this week. When I saw the over-under was half an interception, I smashed that one pretty quickly. I expect Baker to throw an interception against that secondary there in LA with the Chargers. I know they're getting Joey Bosa back, so that pass rush will be bolstered just a little bit more too and put him under a little more pressure. So I expect Baker to go ahead and throw that interception this week.
All right, Brant, my last prop bet is one that I feel like we take care of almost every week, and you can't not take a prop bet against the Houston Texans run defense. I've got Travis Etienne over 88.5 rushing and receiving yards, so his total yards here. I wouldn't be shocked to see him go over that and just rushing alone, and then you factor in the sprinkle in the 4 or 5 receptions that I think he'll get this week. I expect Travis Etienne to be a top 10 running back on the week, and I think he gets it done. So this is another one that it was too easy for me to pick on Houston again.
Seems like we pick on Houston and Seattle's rush defense every single week, but it's almost too easy to do. Both are, bottom tier, giving up plenty of fantasy points, plenty of yards to the running backs. And I expect Travis Etienne to have an amazing week this week as well. He's been over 100 yards. I think it was two times in the last 3 weeks. I could be cutting myself short because I've had him all year. So yeah, I expect that to do the last 2 weeks he's been over 100 yards. So I expect that trend to continue. So it should be a good week for Travis Etienne, and it should be a good week for most of your Jacksonville Jaguars. They came out and said they're not resting anybody. They want to continue their winning ways. They want to go in on a hot streak going against Tennessee. So,
one last thing I want to talk about here, Brant, for sure, before we get any more questions in is, can you think of a time in a championship week where we've had so many games that are going to come down to that Monday night game, just because of how much fantasy relevant talent there is in this game with the Buffalo Bills at the Cincinnati Bengals? Again, for a lot of people, this is going to be the game of the week. You've got two Super Bowl contending teams, both from the AFC playing, squaring off in what very much feels like a playoff caliber matchup on Monday Night Football. You've got on one side of the ball, you've got guys like Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, Dawson Knox, Josh Allen, Devin Singletary, James Cook. On the other side of the ball, Mixon, Burrow, Higgins, Boyd, and the big one, obviously, in Jamar Chase. There's going to be so many games come down to that last week. I know in one of your championships, it's Jamar Chase versus Joe Mixon and Joe Burrow. So, which I think that definitely helps you out a little bit with you having the Burrow side of that. Any touchdown he throws to Jamar Chase helps you out as well. But definitely tons of games are going to come down to that. What do you take about this game?
This game's going to be a high-scoring, very fun game. I really hope it is, because both of mine actually come down to it. In one of our leagues, it's Burrow versus Allen, and then it's Mixon versus Chase down there. And then in my other league, I have Josh Allen, T. Higgins, and Tyler Bass as starting there. I expect it to be a very, very high-scoring game. I expect most fantasy championships to actually come down to Monday night. I know a lot of people would rather their championships be settled on Sunday and be able to go into the week knowing what they already have. But a lot of things will be decided on Monday night. We will see a lot of people commenting and putting out their fantasy championships or their disappointments or their Monday night miracles coming up this week. It's gonna be a fun one, because even if you look at the Sunday night game, you got Lamar Jackson's out, so you J.K. Dobbins, and then Pittsburgh's defense, and that's a good Sunday night game too. So yeah, a lot of games are going to be decided late this year.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun way to end your Week 17 championships. I know some leagues, I would say probably around maybe 10% or less, are going to be finished next week, which is always rough because you never know who's going to be resting their studs and whatnot in the last week of the season. But this game here on Monday night definitely leads itself to be a great finale for Week 17 championships. You're hoping if you got Stephon Diggs, you're hoping that he's the 6 touchdown guy that Alvin Kamara was in the finals a few years ago. So it's definitely interesting that a lot of it's going to come down to that amazing game on Monday night. So that's definitely one that I will be tuned into very heavily. So
yes, as I will be too. Like I said, a lot of names involved in that game. It'll be a fun one to end Monday. Let's bring up who are maybe some guys. I'm going to go throw something at you. Maybe who are some guys that you're fading this week that have helped you quite a bit getting into the fantasy championship. I know maybe I don't want to say a stud because we've already went over you can't bench your studs in the championship. Who are some guys that maybe you're fading and a little leery on going into this week?
The first one that I'm going to say that I'm very leery on has absolutely been a stud this year. He's a top 10 running back, but his performance last week cost a lot of folks, myself included, a chance at a championship. That's Ramondre Stevenson. if you happen to make it to your championship week and you've got a guy like Ramondre Stevenson that's helped get you there all season, coming off of what he did last week, and then like you said, the news of Damian Harris being fully a full go this week basically, and Bill Belichick, who doesn't give a damn about your fantasy football team, as the head coach there in New England, it makes me absolutely nervous to play Ramondre Stevenson this week.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the guys we went over a little bit earlier is a guy that was banged up, but like I said, he was a top 5 tight end, and that's Dallas Goedert. He's going against the number 3 tight end, or number 3 tight end defense in New Orleans. So I'm a little leery on him. I know you and me talked pre-show about it. My other matchup is even worse, so I actually have to lean on Goedert, but that one scares me a little bit without Jalen Hurts there. New Orleans Saints defense is really good, but Goddard's a guy that could cost me my championship this year.
All right. Richard says, kicker question: Myers versus Jets or Patterson versus Texans indoors for his championship week. Brant, where's your mind at on this one? I'm going to let you go first here because this is your kicker in one of this part of this question. So
I absolutely would love to say Myers, but I always go with the indoor guy. When it comes down to it, I expect Patterson to have a very good game this week. Houston's defense has been pretty decent inside the goal line or inside the red area. So I expect Patterson to probably have a better game than Myers. I think it's going to be a toss-up between the two of them, but I always lean towards the indoor guy, especially when you're up in Seattle. You don't know if it's going to rain or not. Even if the forecast doesn't call for it, there's always that chance of rain when you're up in Seattle. So I'm going to go with Patterson.
Yeah, I think championship week 2, I think I'd rather have a kicker indoors. Again, I don't know how many field goals Patterson will have, but he should have plenty of extra points opportunities and probably a few field goals to sprinkle in with that as well. Just because the Houston Texans defense is giving up so many points. So I do think I'd go Patterson here as well. With the championship game on the line, I'm not going to trust my kicker to the elements. So I'll take the one inside.
Yeah.
So I know we're pretty well wrapping up. We're getting ready to tie a bow on this. Anybody who's with us this week or has been with us throughout the season, if you're playing for a championship, I know I speak for Brant and myself. We definitely want to see those rosters that you guys finish with if you win. I hope all of you win your matchups, unless some of you are playing each other. Then I hope only half of you win. But nonetheless, I think that this is going to be a great week for football. A lot of people are going to be very happy fantasy football team managers, if you will, after this week. Brant, I know you again are going after a few titles this week yourself. I fell out of title contention last week in one league, and in a couple other dynasty leagues that I'm a part of. My teams were fell very short of expectations this year. So
you were just being the Detroit Lions, buddy. You were just rebuilding.
Yeah, we'll see how long that rebuild takes in a few of those leagues, but definitely excited to see how some of you guys do. It's always, this is the best time of the year. This is what we do our drafts for. This is what we do our prep for. This is why we listen to podcasts all off season. Why we spend hours racking our brains about who to play, who to sit. It all comes down to this week. So it's definitely it's time to bear the fruits of our labor. So I wish everybody luck there.
Yeah. I want to address this question Richard has out. Do you think Jacksonville will play this game like any other game? Even if they don't, I think that favors your kicker. I know you asked about the kicker. I think that favors him because you know that they don't have a backup kicker. Patterson's going to kick. And Houston Texans will give up some points. But they're on a hot streak right now. They're on a winning streak. They came out and said they're not resting anybody to get ready for Tennessee. They want to go into Tennessee on a hot streak. Tennessee's on a 6-game losing streak. Jacksonville's on a 2 or 3 game win streak. They would like to continue that going into play Tennessee. So yeah, I expect them to actually play this game at least for the first 3 quarters as any other game. Maybe in the fourth, if they've got a decent, comfortable lead, maybe you start to see some people get pulled just to get rested. But I expect Jacksonville to come out and play like they have been.
Yeah, I think Jacksonville is going to go out and definitely try to get a win. This is a divisional game for them as well. So I think you're going to come out and try to punch Houston in the mouth if you're Jacksonville. Doug Peterson's done a fantastic job this season with those Jacksonville Jaguars. I absolutely think they're going to go out and try to win this game and put their best players on the field to do so. So yes, I do think Jacksonville will play a full game here, unless, like you said, Brant, it's a complete blowout heading into the fourth quarter. Then you may see some backup get some reps. But if it's close at all, I expect them to play their guys all 4 quarters. So,
oh yeah, but yeah,
Brant,
guys, go ahead.
Last big important question. Maybe the last time we get to do this season. What's on the menu for today?
On the menu, my kids are gone, as they are every New Year's Day. They go with grandma. They have a tradition. So it's going to be a short and sweet morning/afternoon. I'll do a couple egg sandwiches once I get off of here. Probably do some frozen pizzas for lunch. As for dinner, it's kind of undecided. So it'll be up in the air once the wife wakes up. We'll discuss it. There's a possibility of unfortunately, I don't want to miss the Sunday night game, but there's a possibility that I may go grab me some wings and sit down somewhere and actually enjoy a dinner with the wife today, with no kids at home.
And it is you guys' anniversary.
Yep.
And so I want to say happy anniversary to yourself and Rebecca. And I also want to apologize to her, as I'm just your friend. I don't have to live with you, and I get worn out of you after a while. So Rebecca is an absolute saint. So happy anniversary to the two of you, first and foremost. For me, I'm actually going to go be an idiot and go play golf in the very frigid temperatures here in Central Illinois. Actually, a little bit warmer than it has been the last couple of days, but I'm going to be out on a golf course. We are having like a chili cook-off for lunch to kick us off. We got a tea time here in about a little over an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. So chili cook-off there, and then lunch or dinner, I'm not sure. My kids have been gone for several days because my wife actually officiated a wedding last night. So we had dress rehearsal Friday and all that. So we haven't had our kids for a while, so I imagine we'll do something fun with them for their first night back home. So Hector, we got one more question from Hector. He says 1 point PPR need to fill a wide receiver out and flex out of Christian Watson, Joshua Palmer, Jahan Dotson, and Romeo Dobbs if Christian Watson doesn't play. And then he says he also has Moss or Foreman. If that's so, he's got a wide receiver and a flex. So okay. Who's the wide receiver you're leaning here? This one's pretty easy for me. So I'll go ahead and start off. It's Dotson if Watson plays. If Watson plays, I'm going Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson was good with Carson Wentz to start the season off. If Christian Watson is out, I actually go Romeo Dobbs, just because he's had some good connection with Aaron Rodgers as well. He actually looked Dobbs' way. I believe it ended up being more than Christian Watson over the entirety of the game last week. And with Watson not being at practice all week, that was just more reps with Rodgers and Dobbs. So if Watson is out, I go Dobbs. If Watson plays, I go Dotson.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat there. I like Dotson this week. So if Watson and Dobbs have to share that load, then I'm going to lean in Dotson. If not, then I'm going to go straight Dobbs. Palmer scares me. I'm not sure how much work he's going to get. So I think I have to lean Dotson on this one as well.
All right, and then for that flex spot, do you put in any of those other wide receivers in, or do you go Moss or Foreman?
Oh, Moss. Foreman plays Tampa. Oh, wait.
For me, I go Deontay Foreman. I expect that to be a fairly low-scoring game in Tampa Bay there between the Panthers and the Buccaneers. I think you'll see a lot of Foreman and Chuba Hubbard in that game. So I think I go again with the wide receivers I had mentioned earlier, and then I go Foreman in the flex.
Yeah, I'll take Foreman in the flex as well.
No, I would not sit Gabe Davis for Dotson.
No, absolutely not.
Dotson is the wide receiver 2 if Watson plays. If not, I go Romeo Dobbs.
Yep. And I also am going to go Foreman. I expect him to be involved in the pass game to help move that ball for Carolina. So yeah, I'll go Foreman with that one too.
All right, got a couple more to get through real quick here. Nick says non-PPR, so standard scoring, Stevenson or Akers. I go Akers here. Again, I'm having a hard time trusting Ramondre Stevenson after his performance last week. Akers has looked absolutely fantastic the last few weeks. I go Akers here.
Yeah, I'm going to go Akers. Akers has looked amazing this week. I expect him to continue that trend. I know they're playing a tough defense in the other LA team, but I expect Akers to be heavily involved again.
And last question, Richard says, Raheem Mostert versus the Pats or Dillon versus the Vikings? This one I'm going A.J. Dillon. He's just looked too good the last couple of weeks. I know Raheem Mostert's had his good weeks as well. Jeff Wilson Jr. has also looked good. I go A.J. Dillon here.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go Dillon. I think it's the safer play because if Wilson gets the hot hand, you may see Mostert start to fade. So I expect Dillon to have a very good game in PPR. So I'll take Dillon over Mostert.
All right, there you have it. Thanks for tuning in with us again this week, guys. Again, much luck to everybody. Also, I hope everybody has a great and successful 2023. Thanks for tuning in to us all season. I think we're going to do something next week. It might be a shorter episode.
Yeah.
Just for those of you that are still going and for those of you that are like me who are going to do DFS lineups next week just to be still involved. So again, thanks for tuning in for us.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys have a great new year. The FatBoyz will get back on to getting our Dynasty prep podcast being put out here shortly. We're gonna start digging in deep into these rookies and start talking some rookies and get you ready for next year. We will be back on next week, like you alluded to, probably a shorter episode. Maybe we'll get back to our normal start time. Maybe I'll be a little more awake to kick it off. I definitely won't have as late of the night prior. Yeah, as you know, it's been a great year. It's been a fun year. We're out trying something new with this live, and we definitely are enjoying it. But as always,
stay hungry
and stay fat, my friends.